that's me. That's the end of the line.
Hello, everybody.
And I said it's the
Sitting
right
down
decision.
for a little breakfast.
You know,
we're gonna do the stream here in a second. Just gonna do a quick disclaimer.
Yeah, it was funny. And then
especially for this one, I'm gonna do a disclaimer.
I
want to say very
yeah, the 7 deacons.
Sincerely that I am not a medical professional. I don't give medical advice. Nothing I say in this stream or any other stream is intended to be medical advice. Nothing is intended as a recommendation for you to try yourself or do at home. Any changes that you make to your diet, lifestyle, or really even if you plan to exist in this world, you shouldn't do it without the permission and consultation of a medical professional. Very important. Only the educated
I was in guy mode
and indoctrinated
if someone come and they'd have a
people
problem,
of the world
I'm like,
should
what's the solution?
give health advice or
and then I
have anything to do with people's health. So this is simply
first
all
off, I was
just
trying to get stuff done quick before he's like, slow down, cowboy. People don't get into trouble overnight, and we don't need to get them out of trouble overnight.
An opinion-based
I've always used that as one of my
thing that we're going to talk about,
baseline.
And it's going to be based on my own experiences, my own feelings, and my own intuition, and not in any way based on.
Probably didn't see it, but there was a book and a movie about a lady that did a solo
medical advice. So it's not medical advice. I'm also not a financial advisor. I don't think I'm talking about anything financial today, but I don't give financial advice. Nothing's a recommendation for investment. That being said, looks like we got some people here. What's up, Susan? What's up, Melanie? How are you guys doing? I hope you guys can hear me. Is my audio okay?
To become a kind of like a Dear Abby.
What's up, Zana?
Advice type person. And one of her things she did in life was all her life was
audio check.
Quotes.
We got a little bit of background noise here, but I'm in a public place, so that's just the way it's going to go.
Anyway, she wrote all this stuff in a book, and one of these quotes
let me see. Maybe I will actually.
That compassion.
I guess there's not really.
About solutions.
So this is going to be the way it's going to go.
It's about giving all the love you can.
That being said, how's everyone doing? Does anyone have any thing they want to share or ask before I get started about our topic today, which will be the Ascension Flu?
What kind of help do you need? What do you think you need to help you in this situation? And I just listen and
good morning, Noy.
Sometimes it would just turn into counseling.
All right. Well, if no one's got any questions,
could be anything. I mean, there've been so many different problems. So many different things to make it in the end. To the point where I was pretty independent. I would just.
Are you guys hearing as much of the other people's conversation as I am, or are you hearing me better over them? Just because I will go inside if I need to, but I prefer to be out here in the patio. You're hearing them, or the audio is okay? You're hearing me better or them better?
They had financial problems, and Mike took over. He's like,
okay, audio is good. All right. So
kind of like step back into it's like okay.
Things have been interesting lately. I'm feeling much better today. After I did that little, I don't know if anyone's seen the little shock test. I don't know how accurate those kind of things are, but I'm sure there's. Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Can I get you some hot sauce or anything?
Oh, I would love some hot sauce.
Yeah.
Thank you. Got me a little breakfast burrito, some avocado and egg.
Whatever, but we finally got past that in the last 3 months.
Yeah. Anything else I grab you?
No, that'll be perfect.
Okay.
Personal prayer request. We've done some stuff. And then when they announced Mark,
So.
And the thing I've always said, which goes in line with what you're saying.
Is the Ascension Flu real? I don't know. I'm asking myself. But I will say that there are a lot of physical changes that comes along with
everybody should know. And
the spiritual process. process. Now, I don't know
every month or two.
at what level is when your body decides to do
towards the end of his
total remapping of its nervous system.
Last
but
year we were at over at the alley.
I've been noticing basically from
and he asked me, he goes, "You ever think about getting
the day the light went off, the people's voice was loud.
back in the process?"
I don't know how much better it'll be inside, but it looks like they're done eating. Maybe they'll
I'm glad I went
split
through it,
before we
but
get too far. One second, let me
I
take
just
a
don't
bite
know
of burrito.
that's not my natural gift to be a preacher and teacher.
Pretty good on
I
this
grew up in a
burrito.
Lutheran church where we had a church council that was more kind of the business
But-
of the church. But they weren't leaders.
Some
They weren't
interesting things
like pastors did the pastoring
happening.
thing. And,
So
the council just monitored the money and the finances, and, which way the wind's blowing, and the attendance.
that
all
test that I took
all that kind of stuff. So I kind of
got me thinking and doing a lot more self-analyzing about
maybe they want
my weak spots
different
and
perspective to kind of balance things out. That was what I thought. I thought, well, and I told them at that time.
so I've been working on that. I've also been experimenting with some things that I really didn't really believe in before, like they have that whole belief of the different colored fruits and things that are supposed to
anyway, when I'm having this coffee with Steve, we talked about it.
affect the
I said
chakras in
I
different
said,
ways or whatever. And so I decided I'd try it, right?
And he's like,
And
what do you think that would
so
be?
I've been just,
Probably Bill.
eating tons of cantaloupes and
And he kind of looks at me and
mangoes
smiles, and I'm like, it's never a
oranges,
surprise. It should never be a surprise.
things like that,
It's
just to
obvious
see what
that
would happen. I mean, the test said, "Yo, you got some low energy in your sacral center, right?" So,
and it's funny you should say that about Bill, because I would say that.
and I honestly didn't really
as much encounters as
didn't really think that it was gonna make that much of a difference, right? But I really thought just kind of that maybe the addiction thing, which I've also quit smoking weed for about a week now, which is good. And I'm also not drinking coffee, so this is actually the first time that I've accomplished like both of those things simultaneously. Outside of when I was doing that really serious dry fast. So I kind of figured that was more likely my issue, and I didn't really think that orange fruits were going to get me very far. But one thing I've been noticing is like I've had this one spot pressure like in my back, adjacent to my heart. It's just constantly like every time, like I just did it right now. Every time I feel like this, like I can pop it. Like I can pop it so like it wants to pop so bad. And I can like almost feel it. It's like expanding, right? And anyways, like that was an issue, but since I started doing all these fruits and these orange fruits and stuff, that pain really moved down right into my sacrum, and it's just like so much pain right in that bone, and for no reason at all. And I just realized that it's like maybe it is actually doing something to it. I mean, like it hurts, but I didn't really do anything else that should have caused that pain. So I feel like maybe it was stimulating those nerves as well, because all these chakras. I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I really think it's important, especially to the Western mind. These are not just like metaphysical things, you know what I'm saying? Like these actually have like physical structures in your body associated with them. The colors and all these other things that people describe,
I guess we
ancient
finally broke
literature and
the
stuff.
ice.
Like it's a just are more like having to do with what your mind sees when you're activated, right? But there are actual structures, nerves associated, and there's glands associated, right? And so a big part of spirituality is, you know, optimizing your vessel.
Through the surface of
You know,
something a little deeper. You know, so we did
so,
that, and I didn't no idea he went to seminary, and
and when
a
you
lot of things I didn't know about.
go through a certain
I
degree
remember
of
seeing him in church, you know,
spiritual process, your brain begins producing and releasing
kind of came and then I saw him hanging out, but
different
I
chemicals
don't
than
remember him
that are chemicals that it doesn't necessarily, most people are not secreting them, except for maybe upon birth and upon death, things like DMT and things. Well, these, you know, these substances have way more,
Exactly.
have very profound effects on the body, all right? And so,
I have been
one of those effects is that once you start secreting this, your nervous system is going to upgrade, right? And that's a painful process, all right? Because nerves are nerves. They're the things that you feel with. So,
that's just something that we can
I
share.
think, I mean, I'm not telling anyone else what to do or give
We've expressed with each other.
medical advice in this regard,
That's
but
another nice thing.
I think it's important to, you know, continue to not let that kind of thing discourage you.
Next
And
time we meet,
I'm sorry, guys, I'm not been drinking coffee. I'm like,
wanted to
still
totally-
just woke
I
up.
wanted
Sorry,
to-
a little slow right now, but I will warm up, I promise.
by
It's also super distracting because I'm like listening to someone else's conversation while I'm trying to. But
What's that?
You don't like beignets?
I just didn't know you talked it up, and it's like I kind of wanted to go
and also
there,
I
but
was
I
also
no,
when I
This is
made the
no,
title to
I-
this
I figured
stream,
this
I
is
was
close enough that you could take Sandra here on a date, you know.
And I think before this,
had a lot more like in my mind that I wanted to say, but since then, in the last couple of days, a lot has happened, and
plus Sandra loves that aspect of Melissa.
I'm
Organicness.
Yeah.
You know, whereas
my mind has already
can't say
gone
I
somewhere
really
else. But I mean, the
you know,
progress is incredible.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I'll go along with it, but
And that's my feeling. I said,
Too much wide angle lens on
clear on
that.
this. You have to lead this. You have to get the agreement.
But yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of want to change the topic because I'm not
very
feeling it
happy
right now.
to
But
eat it. I'm not
let's do a
happy
Q&A
to go
instead.
shopping and planning for it.
what's on your guys' mind?
right.
What would you
And-
like to
and
talk
just-
about?
and just
Do you have
the
any
opposite.
questions?
It's like I'll be happy to shop for it.
Let's
And,
do it like this. Let's do it the old way.
tell
Let's
me
go
the
straight to
menu
the Q&A.
so that I'm
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I'm fine with shopping it too,
Yeah.
but
But
I'm gonna eat this burrito while you guys think about
you
that.
know, she's a salmon person. And I've had salmon. You know, and I think just that statement should tell you. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not a,
it's
I'm not a vegetarian as Sandra is. And not that she's truly a vegetarian. She'll eat turkey and chicken, you know, and salmon. And
Will keep you
that's
company?
Basically
Oh, well, thank you.
it. So, you know, I have.
that salmon you made that one night.
so.
Sort of
Anyways, I'll tell a little story. So,
good. You just had
my
your
friend
yeah.
fancy
invited me
thing
yesterday
oven.
to this.
I do enjoy cooking. I really do. I love the fact that
I went to this
I can
temple.
get
It
flavors
was a
out of
temple
something
from
that people will enjoy. Yes, I
the
love that.
guru behind the
But
temple.
Do I personally enjoy it? Very attractive by the guy.
Well, he's
But,
passed away now, but it
you
was
know,
this
that's why I want to invite people over. So I said,
I can't pronounce or I can't remember the name, and I can't pronounce it either. Or I can remember it, but
Phil, he doesn't like salmon.
Parapov or Parapov. Anyways, I went to his temple.
Yeah.
So, no, just
They were doing like a memorial for him.
Chicken baked pork chop.
Yeah,
My mom was not a great
really great experience. Had a couple
Okay, cook, but not a
a little
good cook. And my
feast
dad
at some
liked
really
pork
interesting
chops,
and
so that
delicious
was the
food. I tried some new vegetables, very good.
Can I close this?
Things like that.
Sure.
And yeah, it was quite an interesting experience. I got to actually talk to some.
Thank you for the
It
conversation.
was one of the first times I really got to talk in person since
I'm sorry
my
that I haven't acted on this service,
stuff has happened
but it's your time.
that really actually knew
That's
what I was talking about or had had similar
be more
experiences. So it was
accepting and not
pretty cool.
apologetic for. So I thank you for
thought that was fun.
the link here with let this be the beginning of your work.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I'm starting to have a little bit of doubts about the YouTube.
Watching our church as it continues to grow. And,
I don't know if it's necessarily
feel benevolent. I can't imagine doing anything.
a microphone would be helpful. Yeah, I think so too. I mean,
just continue
in
to
general, I could
support his heart.
probably set up way better and do stuff like that since I'm at a restaurant. It's already, you know,
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of weird
still
enough
trying
to be
to-
streaming.
Still talking to
Extra
Gabe.
weird to be
We've
having
had
like a ton of
conflict for a while,
equipment
and
like
like,
out on the
I
table.
said,
And
let me know, Gabe, when you're ready.
And I told him the same, and no pressure.
and all that, but
You know,
I think you're right. I'm honestly,
into,
you guys, I'm not sure, but
it
I'm
has
thinking
been
about giving
enjoyed.
up streaming. I might have to retire.
You know, there's so often it takes
Like
a few steps that you should take.
I really like the interaction with everybody, but the thing is that when nobody asks questions, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, I
These
still-
streams are only good when I have good questions. Like I try to come up with these topics and stuff, but it's like things like today. It's like by the time it comes around, it's just like, you know what, this is my topic.
really
Maybe it's
good
not
breakfast,
interesting to anyone else because I'm sure probably not that many other people are going through an Ascension Flu. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, at least the one guy stopped and projecting his voice quite so far. Well, Melanie, let's do your questions because honestly, I'm down to talk about anything.
You're sitting there, you got all these things you want to get out.
Okay, Melanie's got a question. She says, I still don't really get what exactly happened to you when you opened your crown chakra.
Keep it simple, keep it focused, hit it 3 different
Okay, let me explain that when I say I opened my crown chakra, I think that that's what's happening, but there's actually another chakra, which I don't know if it's in,
yeah.
it's a less talked about chakra.
All right.
It's called the causal chakra. Okay. And right here where this like occipital bump is, like you could, when whatever happened, be it was opening the crown chakra or opening this causal chakra, it was the feeling is so acute, it's quite pleasurable. But you can feel at the exact place where the light enters your head, right? And I felt it very acutely enter through the back, not the top. The being said that the reason why I say, but I believe that when you activate this one, that it simultaneously activates not just all 7 major chakras, but all 108 chakras and 1,444,000 energy channels in your body. Right, and that leads to basically like instantaneous enlightenment. Now, I didn't like to use that word before because I didn't really understand what happened to me myself, and even like what I imagined enlightenment to be prior to that moment was less than that. I didn't think I considered enlightenment was just, like peace of mind, to finally just be released from stress and worries, things like that. And that happens, but that's a side effect. That's not the main thing. The actual reason why they call it enlightenment or illumination is because there's a literal light involved. And I read all the time online and they're like, the light and stuff is just metaphorical, blah. And I'm just like sitting here, I'm like, no, it's not. People are fucking stupid, like talking about shit you don't know about. Like there's so many people online writing blogs and talking about shit. They have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Like it's called enlightenment because there's a literal light. that beams into your head, and you can see it better than you can see with your own eyes. And it's like being in a 3D tunnel of spinning light. I don't know how to explain it. I don't need to explain because it doesn't really matter. You'll see it someday or you won't. Or you will see it someday, but just may or may not be in this lifetime. Now, doesn't mean that it's not worth progressing towards it, because trust me, you want to get there even if it takes you 1,000 lifetimes. Now, so that's what happened to me. And so basically, I've talked about this before, but I'll go over it again. It's like, I felt a tremendous amount of information come into my body at that moment. Aside from the physical and pleasurable effects and the fact that it rejuvenated my body and healed my body and made me look in my opinion, about 10 years younger. After just sleeping for 30 something hours afterwards. And the other thing that was really why it's called enlightenment is because you start glowing, like your actual body starts giving off light at that moment, or at least mine did. Like I literally illuminated my entire car, and I looked in my rearview mirror and there was literally like light. I should have done that hand motion, so I was gonna screen cap that, and I'm gonna be having a bad day. But the light was like shooting out of my mouth and my eyes, like laser beams. There's more light coming off of me everywhere. Like the whole thing was illuminated, but I mean literally like lasers coming out. And this is no drugs involved. Literally, actually, the opposite of that is that I had quit drinking coffee and quit smoking weed. That's well, I'm not a Sagittarius. I just have a Sagittarius moon. I'm a Scorpio, but I have a weird chart. Like 80 or 90% of my chart is all just Scorpio or Sagittarius. It's really weird, but I haven't done the watermelon or the maca, but I've been doing a lot of ginger, oranges, mangoes, and cantaloupes. And it does seem to be having effect. Though it's not been a good effect, it's been a very painful effect, but since there's an association between obviously the sacral chakra and your sacrum, I thought that it was really interesting that I started getting an intense pain in my sacrum after starting to consume these foods. So I've also been taking the quitting weed thing more seriously. I'm being a lot harder on myself about the caffeine thing. And so basically, yeah, opening the crown chakra, it leads to basically instantaneous enlightenment. And so, no, you got that wrong, Melanie. All those things were already open. I didn't open those a few days ago. No. Those have been open. That was the first thing I ever did, was open my crown or my causal chakra. I don't know. I mean, the causal chakra, I think, opened them all. Maybe it was both. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding. But another interesting thing that I observed about it is the little hats that the Jews wear. Like, I don't know what it's called or whatever, yarmulke or something. Is that the? I don't know. My Hebrew is a little weak. But the little hat, that's the spot where it comes in, like right there, like on the back. So I thought it's interesting because it's like obviously associated. So people know about this chakra, right? I don't know what the relevance of that is, but I'm just saying is that what happened a few days ago. Okay, so the last major thing that happened was like the electric thing. It was kind of like I started getting this really energized feeling. It was pleasurable, but almost like I was tense. Like I felt like literally like I had electricity flowing through my body. It was getting stronger and stronger. And I was just stretching, and eventually it ended up getting like this really strong sensation in my tongue, and I was like able to like stick out my tongue really far. And so I was like trying to get my tongue up in the nasal cavity, but I couldn't do it. But anyways, felt really good to like stretch my tongue. And so I actually had that again last night, but not with so much of the electric, just it went straight to the tongue thing. So I've been having weird tongue things going on. So I mean, like, it's hard to like constantly stream about this and be like, oh, I'm gonna bring you through, guys. You know, I'm trying to bring you guys through, or not even just bring you guys through, but document this, because I don't think there's not been really a very good documentations of this process like this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's such an intense and crazy process. You know what I mean? Yes. Oh, there you go. That's a good question, Jonna. Yes. So I want to follow up on what I said you guys earlier about the YouTube thing. Like, you know, I'm trying to document this process. These go hand in hand. Like, I'm trying to document this process live, while the thoughts and the feelings and the things are fresh, and you know, get the dates down, see how much stuff was like in between each thing. You know, if at some point in the future, maybe somebody will go through and line it up to astrology and stuff. You know, this is really what I'm trying to do with this YouTube thing. But to what John just says, hi Bruce and the whole group, are you still thinking about a real spirituality group in the US?
You don't like me?
And yes, this is all I'm really thinking about regarding that, because I'm, especially after yesterday and seeing, you know, a temple that, you know, and the followers of this guru that, you know, he's been passed for years now, and you know, they're still carrying his teachings, they're still, you know, honoring his life. Like, it was just really beautiful. And even being there around those people, like, I did short meditation when I was there, and it was really easy to get into a meditation, especially for me, considering I'm not really comfortable around a lot of people usually, and there was a lot of people there, and I was able to pretty seamlessly like meditate in that situation. And I think that it's you know, being around, not to say that everybody that was there was like spiritually cleansed, but there was more than I am usually around. So, yes, I want to do this in person. I don't think that the way is to do this is necessarily going to be online. Now, I still want to document the process, but the process is getting a lot more difficult to describe. And the things that are happening are becoming more subtle and difficult to describe. And, you know, I think, you know, this is kind of why I mentioned this on the last one about, you know, not moving too fast, is because, you know, enlightenment sounds great, right? But part of what comes with enlightenment is loss of the fear of death. It's like one of the major things, okay? Now, I do believe there's a higher degree of enlightenment than what I've attained. Like, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I think that it's possible to remain permanently in that state of universal love and bliss. Let's just be honest. Like, I think you can stay there. I really do think you can. And you may even be able to stay connected to this universal source of consciousness. So this is what basically happens when you connect to that, is that, you know, your body can only take in as much as you can take in. So it's like, I literally felt myself like fill with knowledge. And at the exact moment when I'm like, felt like I was gonna break, stop. So, you know, whether or not I got as much as I ever could, or if I just need to now expand myself to take in more or stay connected, I don't know. That's kind of my intuitive feeling of what needs to happen, because normally, like, the reason why people go through, you know, there's many different branches of yoga, but the one that most people are familiar with is asana, right? Just the physical exercise. But the reason why that's the one everyone knows the most and most familiar with is because that's where like a master yogi and stuff will have someone start. And why do they have them start there? Because this is a very difficult process on the body if you have success. So rather than doing what I'm doing and trying to fix your body afterwards to deal with this influx of energy, and it's causing me a lot of pain and like things like that, luckily I'm kind of a hardened person in other ways. I'm able to cope with it. You know, that might not be the case for most people. So, you know, it's very dangerous to go seeking something that's going to dispel your fear of death, you know, because how do you be scared of death when you know that you never really die, right? You are literally immortal. Your soul is immortal. So, you know, and especially if you've attained some type of liberation, which I believe I have. So, once you're going to stop reincarnating, you know, one of the like Buddhist fetters, for example, is you know, desire for a non-material life, or to be reborn in a non-material realm, right? So that can actually be like a big hang-up. Luckily, you know, I really processed that when I thought about it, and I was like, is that what I'm doing? Is that my last fetter? Am I yearning for that? And I realized that I'm not, because I am, you know, it's not that I'm attached to this life, it's not that I fear death, but it's that since I know this is my last one, I want to make the absolute most of this, and also I want to document and see how long a human body can actually live in this state, because I don't know yet if there's also some degree of, at least, like, not to say like, you know, that you could jump off a building and survive, but you may not die of old age if you are high enough up, because you might stop aging. And I believe that that is part of what happens. So it's really dangerous, right, to dispel your fear of death, and then be suddenly plunged into a tremendous amount of physical pain, right? So, because some people might rationalize that there's an easier way to go about that, right? So that's kind of like what triggered me. You know, not that I was worried about that for myself, but that I was just worried about that for other people, because I don't know, you know, I don't know if it's even possible. I don't know, like, if you just sat there and chanted the Om for hours, will the same thing happen to you? Maybe. I don't know. I can only talk from my own experience. I can't talk for anyone else's experience. But it's also important to part out you know, and yeah, that's the other thing. People have kids and things like that, you know what I mean? Like, suddenly, you know, you start understanding some of these like universal truths, and maybe a lot of your responsibilities can be a lot harder to take serious on the same level as you are before having these truths embedded into your soul. You know what I'm saying? Good question, Noe. And I'm only, okay, so you guys know that I like to speak from my experiences. I try to relate my experiences. You know, whenever I have an experience, I seek out information on that. And I usually am successful in finding other people that have the same experience. So I know that these things are not like super unusual. But to read Noe's question, for the sake of the recording, she said, sorry if I ask if there is any other process or level after the crown chakra. And I'm going to have to quote what I've read for this, because I have not experienced that in a way that I can say affirmatively I felt that. Though I do actually suspect that the universal love experience, you know, I originally associated that with the heart and the throat, because this is where I felt very strong pleasure when that was happening. but the heart is also like an amplifier of all the other chakras, right? So, but the fact that I was completely out of body, or I wouldn't even say out of body, like it's almost like I became large is what it felt like. Like I became bigger than the earth, you know what I'm saying? And I suspect that that could be a chakra outside the body activating that causes that. That's a suspicion. I can't confirm that. I didn't, have any otherworldly deities tell me that or anything, which is usually where I would believe it the most, is to hear it from, something more advanced than human. But I have read that there's several chakras outside the body. There's actually many layers. It's called your aura exists in multiple layers according to what I've read. And there's I forgot how many layers. I think there's many layers actually outside the body. But there's only a couple that you can activate, I guess, consciously. But there's I think there's the crown chakra, and there's I don't know what the order is. There's a soul star chakra, supposedly, and I don't know. There's several of them above. You'll have to research it yourself. That's a really good question. But again, I don't necessarily. I try not to absorb too much information that's outside of my own experiences, because I don't want to soil the experiment with information that's not necessarily from me, and also when part of what's imbued into you with the whole thing is the ability to recognize spirituality in other people. You can tell, you can some way sense what level people are at. Not necessarily, you can sense genuine energy in people. That people cannot fake you out. Seeing this light, you're brought into your body. Okay. Nobody can fake you when it comes to that kind of spirituality, that process. All right, and sadly, it's become a big industry. You know what I mean? Like it's become a huge. A lot of people, and for a reason, because here's the thing: it's like karma. Go ahead and examine something for a second. Right? And this is why, there's a lot of stuff about. So karma is any kind of any action that causes an ongoing effect. You know what I'm saying? So, one very simple and worldly thing that proves a lot of karma, money, things like that. You spend money, and that has an effect, right? It shouldn't be that easy, right? But people who become really spiritual realize that, right? And so they're willing to give money towards that process and stuff, or to a religious organization and things like that, because it's a positive karma. You know what I mean? Because you're expanding, you're helping to expand consciousness. Because you're taking something that would normally go to some trivial thing, and you're putting it into something that is doing something positive, and that effect is ongoing. So, people who actually don't know what the fuck they're talking about, a lot of them have observed this happening and realized that this is something that can be exploited. And so for that reason, we got a lot of fakers out there. A lot of fakers trying to make money off this shit. I shouldn't even say that shit. I gotta work on it. See, that's one of the things like there's little things like that in the process of like just minding your words and being impeccable with your words, which I'm not. Like I just, use profanity in a sentence with the most important thing in my life. That's not impeccable wording, but yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's something to work on, to be mindful of, because maybe in this case it doesn't think through any karma, but in another case, this is another part of the thing is that talking spirituality on the internet, and the reason why I'm thinking I need to stop streaming, but I do want to do a personal, in-person spiritual group, because I'm essentially accruing, like I can't really, it's hard for me to judge how much karma, like the karmic impact of what I'm doing online, especially if I don't have impeccable wording, right? Like I can't control who's going to watch this or who's going to receive the information. I've already put a lot out there. In a personal group, you can have personal interactions and give personal recommendations on each person based upon where they're at and how well you know them, etc., etc., etc. Not only that, but the auric field, they interact, right? And yes, you can expand your field to be larger than the Earth, so that you could affect everybody on Earth. That's possible, but it requires a lot of energy, and it's impractical because not everybody's ready for it, right? So it just makes it needs to be an in-person thing. Now I have no clue how to go. I'm not saying I have no clue, but I haven't fully processed how to make that a reality yet. But it has to happen. Like it has to happen. Okay, like this streaming thing and everything, like this can't go. Okay. Like this is not the way. You're right, Melanie, like there could be like something like a Patreon group or something that could control it, but the thing is that while I don't mind receiving because that's something that somebody could choose to do, I'm not going to put a price tag on it. And Patreon, that's how that works. So I'm just not going to do that. Like I'm morally opposed to it on multiple levels, and I'm just not even going to go into it because it's going to sound like I'm attacking it. Pull this fucking launcher off. But also to follow up on that, the other thing is I don't think I would do it in the U.S. though, is the thing, Sean. I'm, people who have had my experiences a lot of them have had very disruptive interaction from the government. And in fact, it's such a big thing that it's right there on the level, on the whole, conspiracy theory level, where they literally come up with some weird word for things that are not that at all. they've been indoctrinating people against acceptance of anything other than what they want them to think for a long time. And when people break through that first layer of resistance that they build up, they tend to turn to violence after that. So, and that more so than that, but the U.S. is also not a very inclusive or open place regarding like, well, I guess, I mean, some people immigrate here, but it's hard to travel here for a lot of people from certain countries. So I don't know that I would want to do it in the U.S. because A, the government here terrifies me, and B, the travel rules to come here are far too strict. Like, while as things aren't necessarily like perfect in a place like Mexico, I think that it would be like a good choice, for example, not to say that that's where it would be, but where you basically, everybody gets an automatic 6 months visa, and you just leave for a day and come back and you get another 6 months visa. It's very easy to travel in and out. And, you know, I wouldn't want it to be a thing. You know, Europe could work too, but the options are also limited there based upon the Schengen agreement as well. And that's not just for a problem with bringing in other people, but that's a problem for me personally, because I have a past that the European Union, most of them will not let me permanently immigrate there. The best place, the only places for me in Europe which would allow ease of access would be, I would get 6 months in London at a time, and then I could pretty much bounce back and forth between Schengen and the UK, sorry, I should have said London, but England. And for Americans, I don't know how it is for everyone else, we get an automatic year in Albania, which is an option as well. So, I mean, Europe has been the place where I've found the most peace of mind personally, and I would love to go there and do it. I think it's definitely been my favorite place so far, but it's complicated. And it's really strange because, you know, you see a lot of like problems with refugees and things in these countries, but yet I can't live there. They won't let me live there. So I'm not going to go off on political things. You know, I've released that from my mind. But if that doesn't point out that there's something nefarious going on regarding all that, I don't know what to tell you. So that's, I guess, the way it is. But and the other thing is, you know, I'm not going to be one of these apocalyptic, like, the end is near people. But it doesn't hurt to plan for the long run. And I really do think that, you know, just based upon how powerful the thing is that we're trying to do, which is really, we're trying to change the world. Like, we're trying to alter the consciousness of the world, because, you know, I wouldn't even be talking to you right now if whatever happened didn't happen, right? You wouldn't be listening to me right now. And who knows, a year from now, 10 years from now, even 20 years from now, we got people of all different age groups, even 50 years from now. you could be doing the same thing. And so this is like an ongoing thing. There's quite a lot of karma involved. So it's very important to do it right and in a good way. Now, there's also the possibility of, things outside of our things to go wrong. There's a lot of big problems in the world right now, but it won't hurt to be in the southern hemisphere just because of the way that the winds and everything are. If anything ever did go really, really, really bad, it would be good to be on the, on the surviving side to try to help bring consciousness to whatever's left of the world if some shit really did. Sorry, let me check and see if I miss any. Oh, what's up, Magic? Do you think the activations could be expansive as the universe? Do you think that comes with transcending material death? I don't really understand the question. Like the expansion as you mean like expanding your electromagnetic field throughout the entire universe? I don't know as a human if that's possible, but I mean, to me, like what you're describing is, the concept of God. Like I believe that God is the universe. I believe that the universe is the physical, or should I say not that the universe is God, but the universe is the physical manifestation of God in this dimension. And I also believe that like all these celestial bodies and things like that are also conscious. And that those might be something like, this is a theory or something, but those could be like the physical manifestations of, in this 3D of ascendant masters and angels and interdimensional beings as well. You know what I'm saying? And I know that eventually you're like, oh, how's it? But actually it does. Like, because consciousness is not a biological thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a biological body, a biological container that allows you to operate in this dimension, but you exist outside of this. Everything that is you existed before this body ever existed, and will still exist after this body is gone. Right? So that means that you don't necessarily need to be biological to be conscious. You know what I'm saying? You need to be biological to walk. You need to be biological to breathe or have sex or swim or, look at yourself in the mirror. But you don't need to be anything like that to be conscious. You can even think of like trees and things like that. They're most likely probably conscious. Or they're definitely conscious in some way, but they might be way more conscious than we think. They might actually be way more intelligent than we think. They might be, if you think about, for example, like, I don't know, I read this story about this monk that was supposedly so enlightened and he was so pure that the emperor brought him, some guy in China brought him before him and started dismembering him alive. And the monk didn't cry, didn't make a sound, he just allowed it to happen. He didn't fight back, he didn't say any bad words or try to give him curses, just allowed it to happen. And that's kind of like what a tree is, or how a tree acts. It's a non-reactive life form. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that it's an unconscious life form. You know what I'm saying? To be non-reactive is a higher form of consciousness, not a lower form of consciousness. So, People are out there that think, oh, plants are lesser, we should just eat them, blah, blah. It's like, no, they are higher vibrational beings by default because they're non-reactive. So it's all really super interesting, like what really, I've been back on this vegetarian thing lately because I'm listening to my body, and that's what it's telling me right now. But on a moral level, I don't feel less bad about I would feel bad about eating something like a bull, which is literally, I've been to a bull ranch in Mexico where they breed these psychotic bulls that just kill anything they see, even cars, whatever. They're just murderous animals. Or eating, a plant that would never harm anything or anybody for any reason, just wants to be alive, soak in the light, and grow, same like what I want to do and what I am doing. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a weird argument for people to, people are just very, I guess I said what I had to say. What are the things wait.
You should say yes.
Here comes the chakra is white body and having things that different than my cellular is way more advanced first. Oh, for sure, yeah, exactly. Things like that, like my cellular, for example, it's literally like a brain without a body. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you just took your nervous system and threw it in the ground and let it run amok and just intertwined with everything, and it's really actually amazing. There's even the largest organisms on the planet are fungus. You're talking. They have things that I don't even know what the total estimated weight is of the honey mushrooms in Oregon and Seattle. But these things take up 3,000 square miles or something like that. It's actually tremendously rare. But the thing is, why do they need to be reactive? They control the entire area and ecosystem by being, by just interconnecting everything. Okay, yeah, they do kill trees and things sometimes, but it's kind of part of the design. That those mushrooms create huge, grass areas in the middle of the forest. Normally would just be all whatever, but that grass draws in elk. Elk want to eat grass, and then the elk, enrich the soil, so on and so forth. It's all a cycle. It's actually controlling the entire system in a very high-tech way, even to the point that it's controlling animals, large ones, thousands of them. So it's pretty interesting and thought-provoking if you really go into it. Not to say that it necessarily has to really affect you too much, but it's just that you should, feel compassion above all things for all living things. All living things. If you killed a bug today, you should be showing remorse. You should feel bad. You should feel something. If you just think you kill a spider and you feel nothing, you're not a spiritual person, and until you get past that, you won't be a spiritual person. At least on a high level. It's just not. Let's see, Melanie says, what are the things you would still like to, I think what are the things you'd still like to, perhaps, and are interested to learn on Earth? I'm just interested in expanding consciousness, honestly. I've tasted some things that are incomparable. Nothing else can compare to them. And I know at this point that while I believe there's greater and that you can stay in that state, I know that nothing outside of spirituality is ever going to compare, and that it's also, I don't believe that there's anything that can't be learned, through ancestral knowledge that you could learn by reading books and things. So I just I'm just really focused on that. I mean, I would like to, for me, like I said, I've been doing my process backwards, so this is why it's like it started out very interesting for people, but I feel
Still doing okay over here?
Yeah, I'm very good. But I feel that it's, I don't know if it still is interesting when I'm dealing with the basic stuff, but since I'm working my way backwards, I'm now getting to the point, I've made so much progress to the top that I'm working my way down to the really more basic things that is where everyone else should start. Like, we're now all in the same place. This is a perfect time for us to start an actual in-person group or something like that, because we're now like, okay, maybe I suddenly, we were all like this and I went like this, but now I'm back. And I mentally, I have those effects are there. That helps me to bring other people up. But it also makes it interesting because the things I need to do right now are the same things that you need to do right now. I'm not saying specifically I can't. I'm generalizing, but more likely than not, it's probably a lot of the similar things. So, like, the things that I want to learn or interested in still learn, it's like yoga. I want to actually learn real yoga because I want to really start working on like my physical health. Not for for the first time, it won't be for any kind of vanity thing. It's not about wanting to look better or anything like that. It's that I want to strengthen my vessel and, increase the capacity for energy in my body and for what I can harness within myself. And so that's really kind of where I'm at with my process. Is I'm back at the beginning of the same place where everyone else should be, is preparing the vessel to go higher. It's a cycle. And I don't know how many times it could go again. Maybe you come back up again, and then you got to go back and go to even higher. Maybe that's how you end up with people like Bruce Lee and, these really, crazy, outstanding people that are capable of these supernatural, physical things, because maybe they've gone through that cycle of, okay, now this is as big and much as I can do in this body. I got to go back and rebuild my body again. Go back and rebuild my body and go higher until you see how much you can pull in, right? So it's a thing. It's way of life. John says in Buddhism, karma is also a key concept that influences an individual's destiny. Buddhism teaches that our actions and thoughts and words have consequences that affect our future. Practices such as meditation, ethical action, help a person to influence their destiny in a positive direction towards liberation from the cycle of rebirth. I mean that your journey in the future will happen organically. Sometimes it's good to let things happen. Yeah, I believe that also. I think that there's something in there that Oh yeah, so I want to also point out one thing that this is, my opinion or whatever, but the thing that I think that it's important to understand about karma is that good karma and bad karma do not cancel each other out. Okay? Both have to be repaid. Okay? So if you get good karma, you have something good coming. Okay? It does something good for you. Right? But that doesn't mean you can go do something bad and that now you're just not going to have something good coming. You're still going to have something good coming, but you're going to have something bad coming too. Do you know what I'm saying? Both have to be okay. They run separately. Your good karma and bad karma are not on the same algorithm. Like, you have to pay for your bad karma, even if you're a saint. You know what I'm saying? You've got to, both of them have to equalize. Like, there was this guy I used to know, he used to love this thing. He turned out to be a horrible person, but I just remember this guy. I really liked this thing, but for some reason, I would have not, the only reason why I mentioned this guy, who I don't really care for, is simply because I wouldn't remember my own words if this one guy didn't love these words so much. But many years ago, when I was first in the business, I was talking to, he was a director, and he used to say, you know, it's like I was quite a prodigy in the business. I came up very fast, and you know, I always said that the reason why I was able to progress so fast in life after I got out of prison and things is because I called it my karma rebate, right? Which means like I felt that, you know, like because I was innocent for the thing that they said that I did, which they sent me to prison for, that, you know, I did that time, you know, and then I made the most of that time, like the absolute most of it, in a good way, a positive way, that I had to be repaid and back for that because I put in the work, I took the burn, I kept my mouth shut, and, you know, that kind of threw the balance in my favor after that, because that had to be repaid back to me, you know. So that's how I see that working. There's no balancing, oh, I need to do more good things because I did some bad things. No, you need to stop doing bad things and then keep doing good things, and we'll, you know, hope that whatever you did that was bad can get, you know, leveled out without you getting leveled up, without you getting bottomed out, you know what I mean?
It's this.
You know, and about the thing, she said, I mean, the journey in the future will happen organically. Sometimes it's good to let things go. And I was thinking about this really hard recently, and I was thinking about it like first thing in the morning, which made me think that maybe it was like part of my dream that I didn't remember. But I was actually kind of wondering. I was like thinking, like, what if it was like a movie? What if this is like this is like the cosmic movie. This is like an ultimate 3D. But I mean, what if it's so intense that you literally believe that you have free will, but all this has already happened before and been recorded, and it's simply that you're living in it, and that your inner monologue was recorded. Everything that you thought of is the same. Everything you feel is the same. What if it's an absolute replication, and that it's actually all, you know, been done previous, or it's all been done previously? Because it was like, oh, I remember what triggered me. It's actually Melanie sent me a video about that this guy said he was talking about how some people's lives mimic stories in the Bible. It was so weird because I was like thinking about it. I was like, yeah, it is kind of like that, right? Like I was even thinking about it like it's like, you know, like why did that thing happen to me? Why did it have to happen in the middle of a desert? Why does it always happen in the desert? Like what's the thing? Like it's like, you know, there's other things. It's just like, you know, why does it always have to happen like that? Like it's just very odd. So it's kind of almost like it's like the underlying, like it's almost like the Bible and like these things like that, other religious texts as well. It's almost like that they're based upon the underlying. Not. It's like sometimes I wonder, like, you know, sometimes I really think like, was that actually something that was that actually happened? All these stories and things, or are these actually just not necessarily metaphorical, but metaphorical in the sense that it's just like the underlying theme of life. Like, this is how it will go. Like, you know, like it's on a repeating cycle of the same thing over and over and over again. Just a thought. I'm not saying that I think that. I'm just saying it's just something that I had a deep cycle of thought about. Magic says they're ancient and kind enough to share their information with us in such a magical. Oh, the mushrooms, yes, they are definitely. I believe an emissary from that kingdom for sure. What are the special or main things that you discovered in each and every process or chakra that you have experienced? Well, I would like to talk about that, but I think that it's actually going to do more harm than good, because here's the thing: is like if you're just doing it, if your motivation behind spirituality is to gain power, you're not going to progress spiritually, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but if you're talking about like cities, the little like little superpowers and things that you kind of unlock through the process, or what we consider superpowers as unopened individuals, that can't be your motivation. It can't be your motivation. So I'm going to skip over the cities thing. I've mentioned some of them in the past, but I did a lot of thinking about it, and I'm trying to grow myself also as a teacher, and I'm starting to try to take a more conscious approach to how I'm teaching, which is why I want to get this offline and more in person. So I'm going to talk about that, but I will say, you know, I just have certain visuals. They're usually almost always colored, you know, with you know, what you would expect from that chakra. But it's usually like a very strong, like pleasurable sensation, and in the upper chakras, anything from the heart up, and then what I noticed, you know, I did a whole video about the Mani Pura, so I don't think I need to talk about that. I felt really physical effects through the root chakra, and I don't know, you know, there was a time, a long time ago, when I thought that I think that I had activated my sacral chakra in some way, but that was before that would have been probably one of my first major things that happened, so I don't know if I can necessarily like confirm that. But I'll say one of the very cool effects, very cool chakra in my opinion, is the throat chakra. Because first off, it's not only is it like one of the ones that feels really good when you activate it, but and I mean physically good, but it also feels really, really, really positive chakra. Like if you activate this, turn on some music, you know, and just sing at the top of your lungs. It doesn't matter if you're good at it or not. There's almost nothing, you know, it's really, really, really nice experience. And I think that it also it brings like an eloquence of speech, which after having, this stream has been a little slow for me, like I'm not the most well-spoken today, but like on the last one, I felt like I activated activated my throat chakra a little bit during the stream, and then I ended up having like a really nice day spiritually after that as well. But I think that that's a very, very cool, you know, as far as like the upper chakras go, that's a really fun one now. It's probably not going to, not to say that the heart's not amazing and, you know, all that as well, but those kind of, like I've mentioned it before, go hand in hand as far as I can tell. Like, I've never been able to activate one without the other. I've been able to activate one primarily or the other one primarily, but there's always a feeling of both for me whenever I activate those chakras. And then, you know, I had mentioned this also in another stream, but I'll say it again because I think it's actually like pretty much the foundational part of my teaching. The place where I feel that, you know, I'm able to bring something new to spirituality that, I don't know, maybe other people have done stuff like this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Osho had a similar take on this, or, you know, I've read some other areas. I read some stuff recently in a new area of esoterics that also was a little bit more open to sex, but to me, and part of the reason why I think that I've moved as fast as I have and had these experiences as fast as I had, not to say that I couldn't be totally wrong and that this might all just be a result of things that I've done in my past lives, but as far as just judging this life alone, you know, you guys know what I'm famous for, you guys know what my main thing is. But what you maybe don't know is what kind of skills or bodily controls, aside from the obvious, go into that. Right? So, you know, most men, as we know, have a very hard time with longevity. I guess, I don't know if longevity is the word, or with stamina, or basically having control of their own orgasm, right? Most men struggle in this regard. And there's different ways to struggle with that. You could struggle with not doing it, or you could struggle with doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be on either side of the fence. Maybe you can go all day long, but it's hard for you to finish. Maybe you can't last 30 seconds. It's just too much for you, and just go. You just have no control of your life. For me, I've had to completely and totally master that, like absolute mastery, right? But not only that, I've also had to learn to get myself aroused, and I've always been self-conscious of doing that in any kind of physical way. I've always been dedicated since I started to always using only my mind to accomplish that arousal. You know, and you know, I've always kind of had, you know, it's not a good look to be on set, you know, with a hot chick, and, you know, being manually getting yourself ready. It's, in my opinion, a little bit, it comes off kind of homosexual way, some sort of, which I'm not. And I also used to practice that when I was in prison. That sounds like the opposite, but I'll explain by myself. I used to be fearful that I would lose the ability to get aroused when I was there, right? And so I used to do this practice that could be, you know, as I have knowledge now, to say considered like a type of Tantra, where I would basically meditate. I didn't know I was meditating at the time, and I would visualize and and not just visualize like imagery, but feelings and everything else to try to make everything function, so that I could confirm that everything did still function. And through that process, I also used to like really focus on growing larger. And actually, during those years that I was there, I substantially did grow. And I think that part of the reason why I'm so blessed is because I literally physically altered my body through meditation, not even knowing that I was doing meditation, but just through that whole thing. So that really, now why is that relevant? Well, because the same process it's the same for all the other chakras as well. So let's just go ahead and rephrase and say that that's that organ that we're talking about, that I'm very famous for, is let's redefine it as a chakra, because let's face it, it is. It's a tremendous bundle of nerves that's got some of the most nerve endings anywhere in the body. You know, there's, you know, a major body glands that regulate all your, you know, as a man, all your male chemicals. You know, same with a woman with her ovaries, like all her estrogen, you know, hormones and things. For that part of the reason. Now, there's a reason why, you know, this is also, I'm going to get off topic real quick and say that this is a big reason why, like, you know, you want, you know, because we're basically talking about the root chakra and the sacral chakra, like it's a combination kind of thing. It's really the reason why you want to make sure that you're grounded no matter how high you go, because because of the connection between basically your third eye and your root. Okay. And why is there a connection between that? Well, let's get back off of the woo-woo talk that's hard for a lot of people to digest and go back to something more scientific that people in the West are a little bit easier to swallow, and realize that your pituitary gland, while maybe your ovaries or your testicles just secrete hormones directly into, you know, to your blood, and they do that, they are regulated by your pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is calling the shots. Alright, I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, I think it's the pituitary. And the pituitary gland is part of that trifecta in the brain of the stuff that's part of your, you know, higher chakras, your pituitary, your thalamus, and your pineal gland. So you know, you have stuff in your brain that's controlling stuff below. So you got to keep it connected. Now, meditating on a chakra, if you want to activate that chakra specifically, it's the same as like becoming aroused. It's just in a different part of your body. You know what I'm saying? If you make your heart aroused, that means you're activating your heart chakra, and you're going to feel that like very intensely. Same with your throat. If you make your throat chakra aroused, you're going to be activating your throat chakra. Your thalamus gland is large. Like, I've had it so activated that I could feel like almost like Adam's apple. You can't really, like, it have like padding above it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like really, again, it's a very pleasurable sensation. You know, and this is also answering noise, last question as well. You know, I believe that, you know, like when, for example, when they say activate your crown chakra, well, what is your crown chakra? Well, that's like the big meaty part of your brain, dude. That means you activate, you got that aroused. That's like having like a braingasm, right? And so, what's a Kundalini awakening? What's raising Kundalini? And that's the same thing, but for your spine. That's arousal of the spinal cord. Okay, that's huge in the spine. Why does Kundalini yoga work? You're literally
But they're not getting the same amount.
You're basically self-stimulating, manually stimulating your spine. Right? That's what it's about. Like, do the jumping thing, the breathing thing, getting, you know what I'm saying? Like, these motions, you're stimulating your spinal cord. It's a lot of twisting motions. There's, it's usually something like repeated, like, oh, we're gonna, like, oh, let me do this thing. We're gonna like open this hip over and over and over again. It's usually all these like Kundalini yoga moves are something that you do repeatedly, a lot like how you would manually stimulate other things that you're maybe more have more experience with, some people. So that's literally, you're stimulating your back. And if you manage to reach climax, spinal climax with your spinal cord, that's what I think is considered a Kundalini awakening, and like how all the way up. That's such a big thing that's directly connected into your brain, that chasm can stimulate your entire brain to do the same thing, and that stimulates your crown chakra and then all the others at the same time, because your spinal cord is literally attached to every organ in your body, and so is your vagus nerve, so you can think of those, all those in the same way, like in the same way, the stomach chakra. Like, what is that? It's I think the stomach chakra has a lot more to do with the vagus nerve, but I suspect it's probably something similar to that, stimulating the vagus nerve, to really stuff. And these organs, especially which a lot of people don't realize, and this is a big reason why fasting and intermittent fasting is really important, is because your digestive tract has multiple functions beyond just digesting food, but it really only does one at a time. So if you're digesting food, that's what it's doing. But if you're empty, then it has a completely different function, which is producing a bunch of different chemicals and stuff in your body. You're talking about like, this organ like contributes to a substantial amount of your body weight. You know what I mean? And think about things. This is another way to put something in context, right? Like, think about like the effect of like DMT or something like that, or LSD, or any of these really potent chemicals that we know can affect us strongly with like a small little dose, right? Now think about how much of all these other fluids and things, and how rapidly your body can produce them. Think about how much saliva you can produce in an hour or 10 minutes, or if you're like super hungry and just see something super hard, or I'm in public so I can't like state the obvious other situations, but you could create a tremendous amount of fluids in only a couple seconds that can literally give life to another human being. Now imagine like some kind of powerful chemical, serotonin, whatever, neurotransmitters, dopamine, whatever. Think about like the massive, like how that you could create like much grander doses. And also keep in mind that there's probably a lot of chemicals and stuff in the body that we don't know about. There's probably a lot of secondary functions of all these glands that we don't know about. Think about again, like getting away from the Sanskrit terms and things that are hard for people in the West to digest, and going on like a more scientific side of things. Think about how many lymph nodes and things that you have throughout your body. These, you could pretty much consider like a lymph node like a lesser chakra. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just like, it doesn't, I'm not saying that you have to think about it like this, but this, if it makes it easier for you to think about it like this, it's not really important that you know all these words and terms and all this stuff and whatever. What's more important is that you know how to control your body. And I don't just mean like you know, on a basic level. I mean, on like a very, very, very advanced level, to a point, like, and I believe that like the most advanced people have absolute control. Like you now know what your thyroid does. You know how to control it. You can consciously do it. You know what your pituitary can do. You know what your thalamus can do. You know how to consciously control it. So there's different levels to consciously controlling something, right? Like in the same way that some dude could come into my old industry and manually prepare himself to do what he needs to do, which I chose not to be that guy, and I decided to go the level above that and to accomplish the same thing mentally. They're both the same thing. They've both been accomplished consciously. Is one better than the other? Yes. Does that mean that you shouldn't do this if you can't do this? No. And that's why, like, for example, like, okay, yeah, if you can just raise Kundalini with your mind, thinking about things, that's great. If you can't, you can do Kundalini yoga. There's other ways. You're still doing it consciously. And once you've had the feeling, and you know what the feeling feels like, it better enables you to take mental control over it and to do it consciously and on purpose. You know what I mean? And through this process, you're pretty much attaining like physical immortality. Not to say if somebody shoots you in the head that you're gonna survive, but you know, you'll probably stop aging. You know what I'm saying? The other side of it is that you could also hurt yourself. You get a lot of control of these things, you don't know what you're doing the wrong thing, and you could damage your body also. So that's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And back to the chat. It's a lot about grounding yourself and connecting to the earth, isn't it? The deep as your root connection, how you can rise with it. Yes, the rooting, the grounding thing, like there should never be a day that you don't touch the earth. Okay? Like shoes are not good. Alright? They put rubber on the bottom of our shoes literally specifically to disconnect us. But like there's a couple sources, like tremendous sources of energy, and the one that's easiest for us to access is the earth, and all you have to do is touch it. And it's bizarre, it's crazy that we've like literally entered like a world where some people will probably go weeks, even months without touching the earth. You know how ill that will make you? Like you have to touch it every day. It doesn't even take long. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it has, you know, you can see like major like effects in the entire body, just from after a few hours of it, like on like actual like, you know, machines that read this thing. But just touching it for like 1 second, like that's how grounding works. You know what I'm saying? Is enough to like discharge an imbalance of energy. You know what I'm saying? It might not be enough to like charge up yourself personally, like to charge the battery. That might take a bit longer, but just touching it for 1 second is enough to balance it out. You know, preferably wet. Wet is like wet ground is the best if you want it to be quick. A walk on the beach, or a lake, stream, whatever, something. You know, hose down your back lawn, just get into contact with the earth. Oh, have a good day, Susan. I'm sure you're already gone, but hope she's all right for you. Ascension isn't linear, makes a lot of sense. The cycles repeat themselves. Elevated higher version. Yes, it's not. It's not even close to linear. It's literally circular. Yeah, and definitely when you're going through the actual physical changes of everything and you're actually making really big progress, sometimes it feels like you're getting out of touch. But that's because or that you're losing energy, but it's really just that your body is rebuilding stronger in a lot of It says, I don't know if you said that this at the beginning, but how are you feeling today? What about you? I'm feeling much better today. I'm back off the caffeine, but the pain was getting so bad in my sacrum after I don't know if it was because of all the fruits. I was deciding to try things that I wouldn't normally try because I'm just really open-minded, and you know, I understand that there's, you know, there can be a lot more to things or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. So I've been, you know, eating everything orange. And I was getting a tremendous amount of pain in my sacrum. And yeah, I ended up drinking some coffee, literally to lower my energy on purpose because it was hurting so bad, and it actually worked. So, and then today I'm actually feeling really good. I think that pressure in my spine near my heart is finally starting to release. But yeah, I've been I had some rough days emotionally, and then I started having rough days physically, and then now I'm feeling good. But it's been about a week since I quit smoking cannabis as well, and now my lungs are starting to reject whatever residue was built up in there. So you have to consciously waken feeling. I always thought it happens on its own to time and right body framework. No. Well, I mean, that can happen, but I don't think that's the way you want it to happen. I also don't think that you should try to force it necessarily. I mean, all it can happen if you're prepared for it. You're right. Let me cancel everything. Let me reread the question, make sure I got it. So you have to consciously awaken to me. I always thought it happens on its own. No, you can. Both of those things are possible. You can consciously do it. You can do it on purpose. Somebody else can do it for you. Like if somebody knows how to, like I could probably make yours awaken just by like touching your spine. You know what I mean? Like you can do it remotely. Some people can do it without even touching somebody. Like they can do it from like, you know, just being near. You know, but you could also do it physically, manually, through yoga, actual physical motions. You know, but it can also do it on its own if your chakras are clear enough. Like if the channel is if all your nerves, meaning you balance all your chakras and you develop those nerve connections to those glands that are associated, then as the connection between your sacrum and which is where that energy is residing, and your brain strengthens, then it happens a lot of times just randomly for people, just because in the same way that, like, say you're a very healthy person, a man, or say you're I'm going to use a man as an example. Say a man is very healthy, but he hasn't had a lot of romantic interaction in a long time. In the same way, like for me, like I've been practicing celibacy and things like that, and now when I partake in romantic activities with women, I find that I am very, very much more sensitive and able to enjoy it a lot more. This is the same situation when you're very healthy and you've cleared all your chakras and you've developed all these connections to your organs and your glands and things like that with your nervous system, and that you're not stressed and you're in a good mood, you know what I'm saying, you're in the mood, you become more sensitive. And through that sensitivity, something randomly, a thought, a pleasant thought, or something like that, triggers that to happen spontaneously, you know. So that's kind of how that all works. But you also got to be careful when you're doing something like, you know, a lot of people say Kundalini yoga is maybe a little bit of dangerous yoga because it's a forceful thing, like you force it, it's kind of forcing it to happen. And because that has such a profound effect that it triggers your body, you know, doing that will do something to your brain that triggers your brain to systematically cleanse, to rebuild your connections to the rest of your body. That's kind of like what I'm going through, where I'm like in a tremendous amount of pain sometimes through this process because it's literally your nerves growing and rebuilding. You know what I'm saying? You might not have a pinched nerve right now, but what happens when your nerves are growing and the opening in your back has not grown? Now it's compressed and you're feeling like this pressure, right? And so this is another reason why like physical asana and yoga and things like that are important. And part of it is because you have to be stretching your back and widening the you know, openings for these mendings to get out of your spine. You know, you also got to consider that like nerves, when you activate them and you stimulate them, they become engorged with neurotransmitters. So even at the time, not just do they grow bigger, but at sometimes they actually are further engorged with chemicals and things that are, you know, make them operate better. You know. It's a hard commit to celibacy since you still do some adult work. I am just minimizing. I'm probably going to try to take some work in this coming month because I'm starting to have some things that are becoming important to me, like maybe starting an actual in-person group that needs some funds to get started. If anyone wants to donate, there's a bunch of links and things, resources to donate through any conceivable manner on my bio on here, but I'm also trying to raise money towards that end. And if I have to, you know, sacrifice a little bit of my essence towards those means, I'm willing to do it for the greater good. So it's a little bit hard. You know, it's not like, again, I don't have an issue with actual intimate touch or anything, but it's really just the loss of precious fluid that has turned me away from my work. And so I think that at some point I actually will start a new project, which I think that maybe I found funding for it. That's going to be more on, I'm not going to initially be like, oh, hey, this is Tantra, but I want to develop a new kind of so I want to learn and develop some kind of a spiritual program that things using Tantra, so that I'll be able to still make the most out of my history and what I know, without actually having to end each video in a way that I am trying not to do, you know, and I'm more concerned about the retention. More concerned about the retention aspect than the actual like physical, because I think the physical aspect is actually beneficial. And in fact, another way that a Kundalini awakening can sometimes happen randomly is through sex, because the natural motions for both the man and the woman that are involved in sex are also very stimulating to the spine. And again, in the same way that the spine can trigger the brain. Other nerves, for example, the prudental nerve, which is the one that most people are used to stimulating, can also trigger the spine. And thus, then that trigger can trigger them. So you can actually, you know, it's the long way to get there. You have to go through 3 nerves. You know, you're talking about a chain reaction from a nerve to your spinal cord to your brain, which is going to be a little bit harder. You know, a lot more moving parts, more things that can go wrong. But that's also possible too. So, what encouraged and inspired me to start my spiritual journey? It was actually totally by random. I mean, I initially was very ill. I had a close friend that was doing Kundalini work. She's one of the people that, you know, can stimulate that energy without touching it or anything. And I was having some major back problems, and through that process I was healed, and that kind of opened my eyes to a lot more possibilities of what's real and what's not in this world, and I started kind of I stopped believing a lot of things. You know, it was like kind of when, you know, that all happened right after the pandemic, so I'd also, like, you know, as you guys know, I used to stream about conspiracies and things a lot, so I was always a bit skeptical about what was going on in this world, but I only had to see a couple supernatural things happen before I realized, okay, everything's a lie. And then I was following Sadhguru on Instagram, by a person I adore. And I was following him, though, because of the Save Soil movement, which is a regenerative farming movement about regenerating soil. Because I have I'm somewhat involved in farming, and I have plans in the future that will be surrounding farming operations and things like that. So this Save Soil thing was like close to my heart, so I started following the guy that started, which happened to be this very renowned guru, Sadhguru, who is, I think, the second most influential person in India next to the Prime Minister. And then you know, I was just watching his, you know, I was watching his Instagram. One day I seen a video of him doing the Om, and it just kind of just really felt like a really strong feeling about this sound, this Om. And I used to do it every once in a while, but not for like a very long time. And I was just driving to Vegas one day. I was bored, and I was just experimenting with it, you know, like I was trying to do it in the proper way, and then I started realizing if I just slightly like change the pitch of my voice and stuff, that it would like affect different parts of my brain or different parts of my skull. And then it's like I was like realizing, like, oh, I need to do it like this, like it's like in the top of your ears, and once it starts vibrating through your ears, like it really starts going through different places. Oh, you change it a little bit more. Oh, I feel it in my forehead. Oh, I change it a little bit more. I feel it directly in the center of my skull, like right at the base. Oh, I change it a little bit more. I feel it right at the top of my spine. I'm just like doing this for like, I don't know, probably like an hour. And then the light that I've talked about so many times came beaming into the back of my head, down my spine, went into my balls and shot back up and out my eyes. And
that would be a lot easier.
The history of the universe was suddenly downloaded in my brain, and yeah, started talking to entities or an entity from another dimension.
They're gonna go see shows and shit like that.
And,
What kind of shows, like music?
physically, my physical body was healed. Every
That's what they said.
pain I ever had, whatever mental distress I ever
They'll
had,
probably go
gone.
see like
It was just like that. And you know, at that moment, that's when I started the Instagram, the YouTube. And at first I thought I knew quite a lot. That's actually, if I wouldn't have acted right away, we wouldn't even be here talking, because, you know, I made the mistake in the beginning of thinking that I knew everything after that, because I knew more suddenly in 7 minutes than everything I'd ever learned and known in my entire life. You know, and suddenly I was like, wow, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time studying things when I knew I could just download everything in a few moments, right? But anyways, through whatever was left of my ego at that moment, I felt very wise and wanted to share it with the world. And so I immediately came on here and started telling people, hey, yo, there's more, right? Well, I felt very wise for about 2 months. And then something much greater happened.
He's so relaxed. They're falling asleep.
Maybe it didn't change me in the way that the light changed me, but you know, when I was looking down at the earth, and I could see through every person's eyes and hear every person's thoughts and feel every person's emotions simultaneously, and I could just see the grand scheme, how all the horrible things of this planet combined with the beautiful things of this planet to create divinity.
Straws? Yeah, thank you so much.
I realized at that moment that I knew nothing. That me knowing more than I ever knew in my life equaled nothing. And so I've been continuing this this project on YouTube, because I'm trying to account for my miscalculation in the beginning when I thought that I knew everything. By now continuing to explain how much that I don't know. So I think that that's really the more important part of what I'm trying to tell you guys. It's not about what I do know, it's about what I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know that that's hard to grasp, but it sounds a little bit mysterious or whatever, but that's really what this is about. This is not about what I know. This is about figuring out what I don't know. I really don't know if I'm saying that properly, but maybe yes. And that's really interesting. Welcome, Melissa. Good to see you. And that is strange, but you never know. You sure it's water? You guys have any other questions? Because I'm pretty much on my meal here. I'm going to just read over.
I think I'm going to take out some tools. Do some other things out there. Maybe take these in
Yeah, I really downloaded the history of the universe, like the real history, but I'm not going to share it now or on this platform. Perhaps someday if we have an in-person thing, and I think that somebody is grounded enough to accept that information, we can talk about it. In fact, I've probably talked about it more with you, Melanie, than anyone else. So far, but at this time, I'm not. There's there's some trivialities about the reality and the structure of everything that is really would be extremely troubling and hard to accept and digest for anyone that, especially for like people who are very religious, because there's a lot of truths about the universe that kind of tie into very religious topics and subjects. I don't think that probably surprises anyone, but the actual reality of everything,
Are you actually serious?
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
and the things that have been documented in some religions that are in conflict with some of the things that are taken as reality by those things, would cause a lot more disruption than good, and it's actually will not benefit you spiritually in any way, shape, or form to know this history at this time. And in fact, I think that part of the gifts of spirituality is to work until you receive that information yourself and to get it yourself, so that it comes from a source that you will accept without anger, anything like that. Then if it comes from me, they're gonna, some people will shoot the messenger. Let's just say it like that. And I'm not gonna be that one, because it's not my place. And if you were meant to know that, you would, if people, not you, but if people were meant to know that information, then they would know it. And the reason why I think that is because I didn't know it. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't believe anything like that. I didn't really even want that specific, not to say I didn't want, but I wasn't part of my, priority checklist to know this stuff. But I don't question the will of my higher self or the wisdom of my higher self. So I know that me knowing some of that stuff must be somewhere in my divine plan. But as I see it now, I don't feel I'm not trying to become another Instagram channeler or whatever, trying to tell people a bunch of stuff that's not going to affect them positively in any way, shape, or form. And it's really just going to make them overthink, make them question their current belief systems, possibly drive some people towards things that I think are negative. It's just not the thing. And yes, if I was going, I'm not gonna, no comments in the public chat, but you already know, Melanie, as I say.
Now I feel like I'm like, they said I couldn't, so now I feel like I'm like.
I look forward to the day when I can, we can all be in person, and that, we can all work through this on a more individual basis, because this is not a one shoe fits all kind of a thing. And I think that like a lot of teachers and stuff get lost in like teaching things in like a general way, or teaching things that they were taught. But I really think that when it comes to spirituality, that each person's medicine is gotta be pretty much custom. You know what I'm saying? Like this, everybody's got their own path, and I can't necessarily, me talking about my path is honestly probably more likely than not creating more of an obstacle to other people's finding their path than it is helping. And I'm sure it's inspiration, but if I'm going to be inspiring people knowing that having these preconceived thoughts about things is going to damage them, I would like to also be able to be there in person to, not that I can show you where your path is, but perhaps I can be, how can I say this in a metaphorical way? Perhaps I can show you how to lay some cobblestones. So that you can bring more with you on this journey. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think people are getting these downloads from real information from each in this moment in human history? It's a good question. It's not really a good answer. But the world's very turbulent. There's a lot of things going on. I don't think it's something that's going to help you spiritually to be paying attention to too much. But people living in certain places, and indeed everybody, probably a big part of it has to do with that there's the end of an age coming. It's I think that we might be entering some very the world's changing a lot. I don't know how much it's going to change or whatever, but I think that the reason why I was mentioned earlier, which is kind of part of the reason why I was mentioned earlier, not wanting to build the I don't even know what to call it, to build the in-person group, whatever we're going to call it, in the States or even in the Northern Hemisphere, because it would be good just to have our bases covered for the worst case scenario, not because I expect it or think it's going to happen or want to operate in fear or anything, but simply because of the same reason why I've simplified everything else in my life and cut away everything that doesn't serve me, is that through the process of simplification and removing everything that which does not serve you, it allows you to keep a clear mind and to get the most out of your mental bandwidth by having the least amount of survival-based decisions to make at any given time as possible, and also to reduce the direct importance or gravity of our own personal survival, so that we don't have to live in a state of survival. So part of not living in a state of survival or not having to live in a state of fear is not needing to watch the news and pay attention to everything, which I really don't. But the problem is that if you live in one of these places that are highly conflicted, which is most of the world, but some places are more likely to meet a tumultuous end, and others it would be better to just distance from those places so that it doesn't have to be part of our thought process, if that makes sense. And I hope that wasn't too dark and foreboding, but on that note, you guys, I very much love you all. I will be in the Telegram chat in a little bit. I'm about to head to the beach and do some grounding and some yoga. And my phone's about to die, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Much love, everybody. Until next time, I think maybe we'll probably probably be a Saturday or Sunday thing. And no, I'm feeling much better today. I really like it. Hey, honestly, today is good. All right. I will send healing vibes for your cat as well. Most of that will. Do that. All right. Much love, everybody. See you next time.